You ever get that feeling? That prickle on the back of your neck, even when there's nothing there? That's how my whole time with the Larsens felt. Just wrong. Third au pair gig and I thought I was a pro by then. Sweden to the US, third time's the charm, right? Wrong. Again. This family lived way out in the suburbs of Chicago. Big fancy house, 2 kids, seemed perfect on paper. Yeah, seemed. The kids were twins. Max and Mia, both 8 years old, identical. Freaky identical. And from the moment I met them, they just stared. Twins, I guess, are always a bit connected. But these two, it was like they shared a brain or something. Always together, always whispering, always watching. Made my skin crawl, honestly. Max was supposed to be the difficult one, according to the parents. A bit of a handful, Mrs. Larsen had said in the interview. Understatement alert number 1. Max wasn't just a handful, he was unsettling. He had this temper, this sudden, explosive anger that would come out of nowhere. Slamming doors, throwing things, yelling. But it wasn't just normal kid tantrums. There was something cold in his eyes when he got mad, something calculating. Even at 8 years old, Mia was different, quieter, more subtle, but just as creepy in her own way. She was always smiling, this sweet, innocent smile, even when Max was losing it or when something weird was going on. And she followed Max's lead always. Whatever he did, she'd back him up, egg him on, or just watch with that creepy smile. Partners in crime, those two. The house was old too. Not Victorian old, but still old. Lots of dark wood, long hallways, and this weird layout where rooms seemed to connect in strange ways. And closets. Closets everywhere. Big walk-in closets, little linen closets, closets under the stairs, closets in the basement. It was a closet paradise, or a closet nightmare, depending on how you looked at it. And the twins? They were obsessed with closets. They played in them, hid in them, talked in them. They'd spend hours in those closets, whispering, giggling, making noises, scraping sounds, tapping, little thumps. I asked them once what they were doing in there. Max just glared at me and slammed the closet door in my face. Mia just smiled and said, secrets. Again with the secrets. Kids and secrets, man. Always creepy. Things started small. Little pranks, typical kid stuff, maybe a bit meaner than usual. My shoes went missing, then turned up in the freezer. My phone charger vanished, then reappeared in the dog's water bowl. Annoying, sure, but still kid stuff, right? Except there was always this edge to it, this feeling that it wasn't just random mischief. It felt directed, personal. Then it escalated. One afternoon I was looking for the twins, couldn't find them anywhere. Called their names, no answer. Checked the backyard, the playroom, even the garage. Nothing. Finally, I remembered their closet obsession. Started checking closets. Linen closet empty, coat closet empty, pantry closet empty. Getting a bit freaked out now, you know? Where could these kids be? Then I got to the big walk-in closet in the master bedroom. The parents' closet. Door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open, called their names again, silence. And then I saw it, or rather smelled it. This awful metallic smell like blood. My stomach lurched. I stepped into the closet, slowly. Dark, even with the door open. Clothes hanging all around, blocking the light. And the smell was stronger now, definitely blood. And then I heard it, faint whimpering, coming from the back of the closet. I pushed through the clothes, deeper and deeper, into the darkness. And there they were. Max and Mia, sitting in the back of the closet, in the dark, surrounded by stuff. Old boxes, suitcases, piles of clothes, and in their laps, 2 little kittens, tiny, newborn kittens, covered in blood. They were playing with them, not gently, twisting their legs, poking at their eyes, pulling their tails. The kittens were whimpering, weak little cries, and the twins were just watching. Max with this intense, focused look, Mia with that creepy, sweet smile. I yelled, I think. Or maybe just gasped. I grabbed the kittens, pulled them away from the twins. They didn't fight me, didn't even seem surprised. Just watched me, those cold twin stares. I rushed out of the closet, kittens cradled in my hands, heart pounding, bile rising in my throat. The kittens were still alive, barely, badly hurt. I cleaned them up, tried to help them, but they were too far gone. They died a few hours later. I buried them in the backyard, tears streaming down my face, shaking with anger and fear. When the parents got home, I told them everything. About the missing shoes, the charger, the drawings, the closets, the kittens, everything. Mrs. Larsen went pale. Mr. Larsen, he just got angry. At me. said I was exaggerating, that kids are curious, that kittens are fragile, accidents happen, said I was upsetting Mia, making Max anxious, said I was too sensitive. Too sensitive? Their kids were torturing animals in the dark, and he was worried about my sensitivity? Mrs. Larson tried to be a bit more understanding, but even she didn't really believe me, I could tell. She said they'd talk to the twins, make sure it didn't happen again. Talk to them? These kids needed more than a talking to. They needed help. Serious help. But the parents, they were in denial. Complete denial. And I was alone again, just like with Brandon. Isolated, disbelieved, and now scared, really scared, because after the kitten thing, things got darker. The whispers got louder, more frequent, not just in the closets anymore, but everywhere, in the hallways, in the kitchen, even in my room. Always faint, just at the edge of hearing, but there. And I started seeing things, shadows moving in the corners of my eyes, shapes shifting in the dark, nothing concrete, nothing I could point to, but always there. Always that feeling of being watched. Then the notes started, little notes appearing out of nowhere, tucked under doors, on my bedside table, in my lunch bag. Always the same thing, just one word, written in childish block letters: watching, listening, soon, dark. Just these single, creepy words designed to unsettle. And they worked. Oh, they worked. One night I woke up to a noise in my room, a soft click, like a door latch. My heart jumped into my throat. I lay there, frozen, listening, silence. Then another click, closer now, and then the closet door in my room, slowly creaking open. My closet door. I always kept it closed, always. And now it was opening, slowly, silently. From inside the closet I could hear breathing, soft, shallow breaths, and then a whisper. Just one word, barely audible but clear as a bell in the silent room. Soon. That was it. That was my breaking point. I didn't scream, didn't yell, just got up, packed my bag, left a note, and walked out. Into the night. Didn't look back. Chicago suburbs are pretty, sure. Big houses, green lawns, lots of closets. But some things are just wrong. Some kids are just broken. And some families, they just don't want to see it, even when it's staring them right in the face, whispering from the darkness of the closet. Yeah, au pair life. You never know what's waiting behind the next closet door, do you? You know, being an au pair? It's not always sunshine and rainbows, despite what the brochures tell you. My second year in the States, I thought I'd learned my lesson, thought I was ready for anything. I was so wrong. This time, it was the Harrisons, in Connecticut. Real old money, you could tell. Big house, even bigger grounds. Horses, the whole shebang. Seemed fancy, right? Turned out fancy didn't equal happy. They had one kid, a girl named Sofie. She was 6, small for her age. Pale, with these huge dark eyes that just seemed to swallow you whole. Quiet kid, they said. Shy. Needed someone to bring her out of her shell. Famous last words. Again, Sofie wasn't shy. She was calculating. That's the only word for it. She watched everything, listened to everything, but barely said a word herself. When she did talk, it was always directed, like she had an agenda, and she was obsessed with drawing, constantly drawing, everywhere. On paper, napkins, walls if you weren't fast enough. And they were always the same kind of drawings. Dark, disturbing even. They were mostly of people. Stick figures mostly, but wrong. Faces all scribbled out, or with these huge gaping mouths full of teeth. Bodies twisted in weird ways, stick arms pointing in all directions, like they were broken. And always, always these big, black scribbled eyes staring right out of the page. It was creepy, man. Really creepy for a 6-year-old. I tried to be normal about it, you know? Asked her what she was drawing. Just people, she'd whisper, never looking up from the page. Asked her if they were okay. She'd just stare at me with those big black eyes and say nothing. Her mom, Mrs. Harrison, just laughed it off. Oh, Sofie has a vivid imagination, she'd say, all airy and dismissive. Don't worry, it's just a phase. A phase of drawing torture victims? Right. Then the drawings started showing up in weird places. Not just Sofie's room or the kitchen table. I'd find them tucked under my pillow, taped to the inside of the bathroom cabinet. Once, I found one in my laundry basket, buried under my clean clothes. Always those same dark figures, those staring eyes. It felt invasive, like she was getting inside my space, inside my head. One morning, I woke up, and there was one taped to my bedroom door, right at eye level. a stick figure front and center, bigger than the others. And this one was different. It wasn't just scribbled eyes, it had my hair, long blonde stick hair, just like mine, all scribbled and messy. And under it, in shaky block letters, it said, "Watching." That freaked me out, I won't lie. I ripped it down, heart pounding. Went downstairs, tried to act normal, but I couldn't shake it. That drawing, it felt personal, targeted. Like she wasn't just drawing random scary things, she was drawing me. Or something connected to me. I started paying more attention to Sofie, watching her, like she was watching me. And she was always watching. From the corners of rooms, from the hallway, just there. Silent, still. Those dark eyes just fixed on me. It was unnerving as hell. Then things escalated. I was in the kitchen, making lunch, and I felt something cold on my ankle, like ice. I jumped, looked down. Nothing. Just the kitchen floor. But my ankle was freezing. Like someone had held an ice cube there. I rubbed it, shrugged it off, figured it was just my imagination again. 5 minutes later, it happened again, this time on my arm. This sharp, freezing cold spot, then gone. And then again on my neck. Each time just for a second, then nothing. But it was definitely cold. Freezing cold. Like a cold hand touching me. I was starting to lose it, man. Seriously questioning my sanity. Was I imagining things? Was this house messing with my head? But then, that evening, I saw Sofie drawing again at the dining room table, and I saw what she was drawing. Another stick figure. But this one had little blue marks all over it. Blue marks, exactly where I'd felt the cold spots that afternoon. Ankle, arm, neck, blue crayon marks right on the stick figure. I stared at that drawing, and this cold dread just washed over me. It wasn't my imagination. She was doing something intentional. And those cold spots, they weren't random. They were connected to her drawings. Somehow. That night, I packed my bags, didn't even bother to give notice, just wrote a quick note, left it on the kitchen counter, and got the hell out of there. Connecticut was beautiful, sure, but that house and that little girl with her dark drawings, nope. Some things are just too creepy, even for an au pair who thought she'd seen it all. And those drawings, I still see those black eyes sometimes, staring out of the darkness. Yeah, some kids, man, they're just not right. So, yeah, au pair stories, right? You wouldn't believe the stuff you see. My first gig was intense, to say the least. I was barely 19, fresh out of Spain, thinking I was all worldly and ready for anything. Ha! Famous last words, huh? I landed with the Davis family, nice folks, on paper. Lived in this old Victorian house, all creaky floors and shadows in Massachusetts. Quaint, they called it. Spooky, I thought. But hey, big house, private room sounded way better than my dorm back home. The Davises had one kid, Lily. 7 years old, blonde curls, big blue eyes. Straight out of a horror movie, looking back. Seriously, she had that unnerving doll-like thing going on even then. Quiet, polite, almost too polite. Her parents were all, "Oh, Lily's an angel, such a sweet girl." Yeah, an angel of darkness, maybe. From day one, things felt off-kilter. Lily was just watchful. But Lily would tilt her head, like she was listening to something I couldn't hear. And she talked to herself. Constantly, whispering, murmuring little sing-songy things. I asked her once what she was saying, and she just smiled, that same too sweet smile, and said, "Secrets. Secrets." A 7-year-old. Give me a break. The house, man, that house was something else. Old houses are always a bit noisy, right? Creaks and groans, settling sounds. But this was different. It was like the house was breathing, especially at night. And Lily's room? Forget about it. It was in the attic, converted into a bedroom. Cute, with slanted ceilings and dormer windows, but freezing in winter and boiling in summer. And always cold. No matter how high you cranked the heat, that room was always just a little too cold. Lily had this dollhouse in her room. Massive thing, like a miniature version of the actual house, all handmade wood and tiny furniture. Her grandpa made it, they said. It was seriously detailed. Little carpets, tiny paintings on the walls, even working lights. But it was creepy as hell. It just sat there in the corner, looming. And Lily was obsessed with it. She'd spend hours in her room just playing. But it wasn't normal playing. It was always quiet, those whispers and this intense focus. Then the whispers started getting louder. Not Lily's whispers, the dollhouse whispers. I swear to God, I started hearing voices coming from that thing. Faint, like mice in the walls, but voices. Little murmuring voices. I thought I was losing it at first. Jet lag, new country, stress, whatever. But then I started hearing them during the day too. Not just at night when the house was quiet. Especially when I was near Lily's room. One afternoon, Mrs. Davis asked me to get Lily's laundry from her room. I went up to the attic, knocked, no answer. Figured she was downstairs. So I opened the door and went in. And the whispering was loud. Not loud, but definitely audible. Coming from the dollhouse. I walked over slowly, freaked out but also curious. Stupid, I know. I peered into one of the little windows, and I saw them. Tiny figures inside the dollhouse. Little dolls posed in different rooms, and they were moving. Just a little, tiny movements, heads tilting, arms shifting, and the whispering was definitely coming from them. I backed away so fast I nearly tripped down the attic stairs. Heart hammering, breath catching in my throat. I grabbed the laundry and bolted. Downstairs, everything seemed normal. Sunlight, normal house sounds, Mrs. Davis in the kitchen humming. I tried to tell myself it was my imagination, shadows, the old house playing tricks. But I knew what I'd seen and heard. That night I couldn't sleep. Every creak of the house sounded like footsteps. Every shadow looked like something else. I kept thinking about those tiny figures in the dollhouse, those whispers. Around 3 a.m. I finally drifted off, exhausted and wired at the same time. And then I woke up. Cold, freezing cold. And there was a sound right outside my door. A soft scratching like fingernails on wood. Scratch, 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 slow, deliberate. My blood turned to ice. I lay there frozen, listening. Scratch, scratch, then a whisper. Faint but clear, right through the door. She's awake. I didn't wait to see what she was. I jumped out of bed, threw on some clothes, grabbed my bag, and ran. Out of that house into the cold night. Didn't stop running until I reached the 24-hour diner in town. Sat there shaking, drinking coffee until sunrise. Quit the job the next morning. No explanation, just gone. Never went back to that town. Never wanted to know what was in that dollhouse or who she was. Sometimes, though, late at night, I still hear that scratching in my dreams. And those tiny whispers. Yeah, au pair stories are something else, all right? You just never know what kind of crazy you're walking into, do you?